Hey guys, That Song Review Guy here, and it's the time that all of you, some of you, none of you, have been waiting for, and that is my top 10 list of the absolute worst songs of 2013. Now, I've seen many internet bloggers and other reviewers of music proclaim 2013 to be the worst year for pop music in recent memory. And when you look at what music lovers have had to endure for the last year, it's pretty hard to counter that argument. Whilst it certainly hasn't been a great year, I for one can't say definitively that it's been the worst year in recent memory. I can back the idea that it has been the worst year for #1 singles, and that's as far as I'm willing to go. From a list of 100 songs, I managed to whittle it down to 23 songs that I disliked, right down to 10 that I actively despised. Some were tougher to cut than others, some when compared to other songs were much easier to cut, but eventually a top 10 list was formed. It isn't uncommon to dislike a song but over time just forget about it and simply stop caring about that song, or it starts growing on you and it becomes tolerable. And then there are others that stay with you for the year, and no matter how hard you try, they refuse to escape your head, or the radio refuses to stop playing them, for better or for worse. And what makes things worse is when a song becomes so insanely popular and or gets rave reviews and praise, and you're just left sitting there feeling like the only sane person left on the planet. But before I go into my top 10 list, a few dishonourable mentions first. Some songs that were close but failed to get on my top 10 list for one reason or another.
I know that I went into meltdown and eviscerated this song when I reviewed it, and my feelings haven't changed in the slightest. I don't like this song, but frankly, when you compare this song to either the other dishonourable mentions or my official top 10 list, this song actually looks good in comparison. And I really can't justify putting it on my list simply because I don't like this group, when in reality, it's more competently written than any other song on this list. Like I said, 2013 was an awful year for #1 singles, and this song didn't exactly help its case. I'm not mad at this song, I'm just disappointed. I can't add anything onto this that wasn't already mentioned when I reviewed this song, so just go check out that review to hear my opinions. If I could add anything new, is that this wasn't the worst song Jason Derulo released in 2013. Maybe I'll get the chance to review that song at a later date, maybe not. We'll wait and see. My biggest criticism of EDM is that I find it so lazy and generic that it no longer has any identity and everything just sounds alike. Now we've got to the point where DJs aren't even trying anymore. They're just straight up lifting backing tracks from other iconic dance tracks and branding it as their own work with as little, if any, creative input on their behalf. Akon's still getting his paychecks by collaborating again with David Guetta, and Neo deserves better than this. Honestly, it's him alone that saves this song from going on the worst of list. Consider this song my unofficial number 11 worst song of 2013. After winning the 2011 edition of the X Factor, Little Mix started off reasonably well in my opinion, but as time's gone by, the quality of their work has diminished and this song is perhaps their least listenable. The music is a concoction of tongue-clicking noises which immediately loses any appeal and pissed me off within the first second of playtime. It lacks any quirkiness and fun that a song like Wins has, and is devoid of any melodic or harmonic tones that proves that this is a good girl group squashed by synthetic mush that overshadows their talent. Much like the Saturdays now that I think about it. I'm not shocked this went to #1. Seriously, I'm not. The internet gave us Gangnam Style and it was only going to get worse from then on in. On a technical level, this song deserves its place on my list, but just like Talk Dirty, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. This wasn't the worst song Pitbull released in 2013, not by a long shot. It's filled with the usual Pitbullisms and brainless trademark zero effort that reeks throughout this song and is commonplace with anything contributed from Pitbull. But in comparison to the other song he released, I don't want to spoil the surprise, even though it isn't much of a surprise now. I hate Dizzy Rascal. I hate him so much. He has contributed nothing that is of any worth. He's the equivalent of a chucklehead that you would take great pleasure in punching his stupid, grinning mug over and over again. This song has just enough quirkiness to save it going on the worst of list, but other than that, this song has zero charm, the chorus is the laziest I've seen in a song all year, and the verses are even worse. Seriously, you read any verse of any song by Dizzy Rascal and it just looks like he wrote them in one take, put no thought into them, and has nothing in artistic merit.
Okay, well now that bitching session is over, it's time to get on to the main event. These are the top 10 worst songs of 2013. You know, there's always artists that you can rely on delivering awful material, and my list will present more examples in due course, but we'll start with small potatoes and work our way up to the meatier pickings. And so, we start with Miss Taylor Swift. While she isn't up there with the likes of Rihanna or Miley Cyrus in producing banal, insipid material, she has been responsible for songs that don't stretch beyond her own limited songwriting capacity. 99% of her songs are about how she's always the innocent party in a relationship, and the guys she affiliates herself with are always douchebags because that's all she's attracted to. I guess it's too much to ask Miss Swift to find a nice guy for once, because then she'll never write another song again, and we can't have that happening now, can we? With 3 songs of hers to choose from, my choice is probably going to surprise a lot of you out there, because compared to the other 2, this one isn't as bad, but this ends up on my list for 3 reasons. 1, for having no personality whatsoever. 2, for being Miss Swift's most boring song she's ever released. And 3, for dragging down an artist that I actually like. And the ironic thing is, it's a love song, not a breakup song.
I know that it would seem appropriate to put I Knew You Were Trouble or 22 on this list, but what saves the 2 of those songs from this list is the fact that I find them both fascinating in how bad they are in an ironic sense. Whilst Everything Has Changed definitely has its sense of irony, it's so lifeless, so devoid of any personality and identity, and has no feeling or heartfelt emotion. It feels like fingernails down a chalkboard whenever I listen to it. Taylor Swift is bad on her own, but I'm more embarrassed with Ed Sheeran. His lyrics are so lame that they sound like he wrote them in his sleep, which is ironic because that's exactly how he sounds in this song. Lyrically, the song shows again that despite being 23 years of age, Taylor is still incapable of writing anything that isn't teenage girl diary bullshit. Apparently, all it takes is for you to say hello and hold open a door for someone, and then that's it. It's love. My walls stood tall painted blue? So? Who cares if they were painted blue? And what does that even mean? And the endless repetition of the line, I just want to know you better now. Taylor, by now, I'm certain that every warm-blooded male knows better than to be affiliated with you. And sorry to break this to you, but somebody has to. It's nothing to do with the man.
I have been waiting for an opportunity to rip this song to shreds for a while now. I really looked forward to doing that in my top 10 worst bottom 100 songs of 2012, but unfortunately that didn't materialise. This time, however, I am not going to let this opportunity pass me by, and this is probably the last chance I'll have to get my claws into this song.
At the start, Jar of Hearts was a tolerable breakup song, but over time it became unbearable. 1,000 Years, on the other hand, whilst not about a breakup, I instantly hated after the first hearing. The worst thing you can do is deliver passionless, saccharine, puke-inducing lyrics that are not genuine or meaningful, but are so generic and so uninspired that it sounds like the writer wrote the song on a once-through, gave the lyrics no thought whatsoever, and accompanied those lyrics with a sweeping orchestral instrumentation to try and dupe me, the listener, into thinking that it has some resonance or heartfelt emotion. What really aggravates me about this song is that it doesn't make sense on a metaphysical level. I have died every day waiting for you, darling, don't be afraid, I have loved you for 1,000 years. That's not possible. If none of you out there involuntarily shuddered in how gut-wrenching that was, you clearly have a stronger stomach than I do. But that wouldn't be enough, would it? Oh no. Heart beats fast, colours and promises. What? Plus, she starts off all nervous and worried, but eventually calms herself, only to tell her love interest to not be afraid himself. Christina, you never even hinted that this guy showed any interest in you whatsoever. What makes you think he would give you the time of day? And what if it turned out that he didn't even like you? You're pretty shafted if that's the case, not to mention the embarrassment you'd feel after spouting this shite. Plus, it is pretty naive to assume that he was afraid to begin with, and if he was, why? Both This and Everything Has Changed are deluded teenage fantasy, but at least Everything Has Changed sounds like it was written by an adult. A stupid adult, but an adult nonetheless. Also, Swift's voice is better than Perry's. Just saying.
Okay, back on my worst songs of 2012 list, I said that as long as the band, The Wanted, had a song in the year-end 100, then they would have a definitive place on my worst of list. Now, I didn't deliberately go out of my way to put The Wanted on my list, but honestly, how the hell could I ignore this?
She can't sing, she can't dance, but who cares? She walks like Rihanna. Really? Fucking really? If this was an ironic piece about Rihanna, I would forgive this song because it would be hilarious. Then again, that would be giving this band way too much credit in regarding their intellectual capacity. But seriously, what woman in their right mind would consider this as flattery? Yeah, forget her eyes, her figure, hell, her personality. But then again, when would this group or any group ever write a song about a woman's personality? As long as she walks like an overrated Barbadian musical artist, that's good enough. This song just smacks of embarrassingly bad lyric writing, and if this isn't a sign of this group's impending demise, I don't know what is. This song was co-written by Dr. Lou. Can you tell? Forced rhymes, words that rhyme with themselves, a lazy chorus and a bridge that has no effort put into it. I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. If you're not going to put any effort into writing a substantive bridge, then don't bother writing one at all. Not only are the lyrics god-awful, but clearly no thought was put into them. If the best thing about her is her walk, and everyone crowds around her, how the hell do you know she walks like Rihanna? Does Rihanna have a trademark walk? I guess if Nicki Minaj claims to have a trademark blink, fuck it, anything could be trademarked. Also, isn't it a bit off-putting that all the boys are crowded around her? How the hell is she supposed to go to the toilet? Or go home? Are they going to follow her? Because I'm pretty sure that the law considers that stalking. But seriously, her walk, that's the only thing appealing about her. Not meaning to sound like a bastard, but she can't have much else going for her, can she?
Oh, Jessie J, you started off so promisingly with your first few hits, but somewhere between your first album and the creation of your second album, something went wrong. Because I do not understand how anyone thought this song was cohesive enough to be put on your album, let alone be the lead single. Also, when your choices of collaborative artists are Big Sean and Dizzy Rascal, there's nowhere to go but on the worst of year list.
I get what Jessie J was trying to do with this song, I really do. It's only natural to try and create something that sounds vastly different from your first album. However, this shows that her change in style just doesn't work. The music is obnoxious and the lyrics are no better. Rhyming it with itself 3 times and then rhyming it with burning, eyes with alive, and life with wild. I could rattle off more rhyming atrocities, but I'd be here all day. Am I asleep? No, I'm alive. Jessie, you do know that if you're sleeping, then you're still alive, right? Her vocal acrobatics are impressive and she is a talented woman, but this song is the perfect example of someone with great vocals flushing them down the toilet. I think, however, that she deliberately recruited Big Sean and Dizzy Rascal in order to make her stanzas look good in comparison. Big Sean rambles incomprehensibly about how great he is, how he met a random woman and that he's going to have sex with her, so pretty much the same copy and paste lyrics that are expatiated from every generic, uninteresting rapper out there who needs to validate themselves because their creativity is virtually non-existent. By the way, did I mention that I hate Dizzy Rascal? If you thought Big Sean was incomprehensible, Dizzy makes him look like Shakespeare in comparison. His verse is the epitome of creative bankruptcy. It's just a jumble of words glued together that have no rhyme or reason or mean anything. I encourage anyone out there to read the lyrics, and when you have, tell me with a straight face that I'm wrong. And if you do feel like doing that, don't waste your time, because I am so right on this one.